My name's Ray, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm also on fire for Jesus. And I didn't always know them two things about myself, but it's good to see a lot of faces that are familiar in this crowd. And I started coming here about a month ago, but we'll get to that later. Let me start with saying, I grew up in a household, broken home, but I grew up and my family had a lot of love, right? We had a lot of love. We didn't have a lot of money. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. But I look back on my early years, my early childhood, and I'm not sure that money would have helped. Of course, when I'd go to school and everybody had the brand new Jordans and 90s and stuff, then I like to think that having money would have been better. But my parents did the best they could, and I wouldn't change a lot of that because I am an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am a sponsor, and I have a lot of sponsees, and I hear a lot of stories. I work with a lot of men to try to get their lives turned around. But I wasn't always able to do that because at an early age, I think I always kind of felt out of place. I never really actually fit in with any certain type of crowd in school growing up. There was, people that were athletic, the jocks, they were the ones with their hood up, sitting over to the side by themselves, generally wearing black, you know what I mean? And you had all these little groups, the preps, whatever you want to call them, is what we called them. But let me tell you, I was the type of person, is it didn't matter what group I was around, that I could be the chameleon, right? I could cut it up with the jocks, and if I needed to raise my nose up and hang out with the preps, I could do that too. Or if I wanted to just unwind and shoot it with some of what I call normal people, I could also do that. But that also introduced me being able to be a chameleon like that to a lot of people, right? So there was always this fundamental uneasy feeling within me, right? And I can tell you that my childhood coming up, seemed probably pretty typical, pretty normal in the beginning. I can tell you this, though. The first encounter that I ever had with God, with the Holy Ghost, with Jesus Christ himself, I was out in Salem, Indiana, and I was in this little bitty old church, and at that time, my mom would send me to the occasional Sunday school or Sunday camp or something like that. But I didn't know a lot about the Bible, didn't know a lot about God. I'm 10 years old, right? And I'm sitting in these chairs, right? And this elderly man, probably 90-something years old, gets up there and he starts to preach. And I'm telling you, my 10-year-old little body sitting in the little chair, I felt the Holy Ghost settle on me. It got all hot in the room. I swear there was this low rumble in the chairs that I was in. And man, I could not deny the fact that there was a force and a power in that room that I did not recognize, that I wasn't familiar with. And I'll tell you what I did. I stood up in that seat and I ran out of that church. And look, and I would run for the next 25 or 30 years of my life. I promise you. Because I'll tell you what, in that undeveloped little 10-year-old mind, I knew if what I was feeling, what I was experiencing was real, then there'd be a certain set of rules that I'd have to stick to, right? And, I wanted to be a active member of this flesh world we live in, this devil's playground, and this is just me being honest with you guys, honestly. So I rejected the ideal of that early on in my life, and I've talked to Ted about this. I've often wondered, had I not ran away that day, what would my life would look like? You know what I mean? But we can't change the past. So moving forward, a bit maladjusted to life is what I would call myself. Hit middle school, and we'll talk about an awkward time in life. Prior to 7th, 8th grade, I think the most trauma that I had experienced before that was losing a grandparent. You know what I mean? I remember being called out of 3rd grade when I lost my first grandparent, and I didn't understand what was going on. And I know that I went to that funeral, and I never cried. I never cried at my grandpa's funeral. Grandmother passed away. I never cried. And I always thought that was odd or weird, or I didn't really know how to process emotions and feelings. And I tell you this because this is a pattern that would produce itself a lot later in life and really be tough to handle. Now, back to middle school. When I got to middle school, I remember there was this very beautiful young lady, right? We met in swim class, of all places. And man, I tell you what, you know how it is when you're in 7th grade and you're young and you see somebody who's pretty and like it's all awkward, right? And maybe you can muster up the strength to go over and talk to them, and maybe you can't. All of this was free drugs and alcohol in my life, but I did manage to get the strength up to go and talk to this young lady, and it was an amazing encounter with her. Matter of fact, we got to know each other, and it was a beautiful thing. I tell you this because I said I hadn't experienced much trauma. Well, I can tell y'all that that young lady's name was Shanda Shear. And if anybody knows the story of Shanda Shear, at that time I was 13 years old. I think she was 12. And she got caught up in a love triangle there at Hazelwood Junior High School. And these two, well, there's 4 of them, these 4 young ladies, I'm pretty sure her murder still stands as one of the most brutal crimes in the state of Indiana. And I remember the night that happened, her mother had called me the next morning wanting to know if maybe she was with me. And I had to tell her that no, I hadn't seen her, not knowing at that time what actually was going on. But when it all came out, man, you want to talk about 30 days before that, me and Shanda had kind of broke up because she wanted to pursue a relationship with one of those girls, and it was something to handle, right? And those emotions, those feelings, I did not like the way I felt, let me tell you, at all. Yeah. And I think that right around that time, I took my first drink. I think it was a little bit before that, but after that happened, let me tell you, I figured out real quick that I could change the way I felt when I put drugs and alcohol in my body. And when I put drugs and alcohol in my body, it produced an effect in me that allowed me to escape what I didn't want to think about. Little did I know that I'd be forging, this is what Bill says in the book, a weapon that would later nearly rip me to ribbons, as he says in the book. And that rings so true to me. After that happened, obviously, I cried and I grieved, but I didn't grieve to my soul, like one should do at the loss of somebody they cared about. And this pattern would continue to repeat itself in my life. Altogether, I've buried 7 girlfriends and a wife. And I can tell you that I don't think I ever processed any of that. But what I did do, and did very well, was cover it up. And how I covered up is, as long as I was out there with another drink in my hand, a bag of this, a bag of that, anything that would make me not think or deal with the things that came up in my life. And this pattern, I have forgotten more than I remember, let me tell you. This lifestyle that I developed, because for the most part I was an outgoing person, and it wasn't too hard for me to talk to people, but let me get some liquid courage in me, you know what I mean? And then I felt like, maybe so, maybe not, that I was really the life of the party at that point, let me tell you. And that was at the younger years, right? Because this was my solution for the longest time. A thorough solution it was. It worked great. So for the next, that happened with Shanda when I was 13, 14 years old. For the next 20 years, right? In that 20 years, I would just go through this pattern of anybody that I would get close to, they would either move on or possibly die. And it was just something that I see now, due to working the program Alcoholics Anonymous, that most of that was my own making, but you couldn't tell me that when I was going through it. You know what I'm saying? I was just bad luck, wrong place, wrong time, don't you know? If you've been through what I've been through, you'd probably do the things I do also. And that was, man, sticking your head in the sand. But I can tell you that none of those problems, none of that grief, none of that stuff that I avoided ever went away. It never went away. All it did was become more, right? I would pile one problem on top of another problem on top of another problem. And, you know, when I turned 18 on February 7th, and my first child was born on February 11th. Now, you want to talk about a proud papa. Even though I was drinking and doing drugs and stuff like that, it never stopped me from holding a job at that point. And, man, I remember that day in the delivery room. It was the closest that I had ever been to, like, life and death. And my son was born, and everybody said it was going to be a girl, right? Everybody said it was going to be a girl. When it come out, it was a boy. I tell you what, you want to talk about being on cloud 9. As proud as I was, right? I have 4 kids. There would come a time when even the kids were not enough to keep me from seeking one more. And I say that with a heavy heart because I love my children. And as the story would go, I would do the best job I could as a functioning addict and alcoholic without God in his life. I would do the best job I could. And sometimes it was enough, and sometimes it wasn't. But I can tell you that the kids never went hungry, and I always managed to put some food on the table and keep a roof over their head. My kids were never taken away from me, although I did ultimately, in the end, give them away. You know what I'm saying? So if I get to the age, I go through my 20s, and I always used to say I didn't have any brakes to pump. I mean, if it wasn't, I'd put the kids with sitters, and I'd go out and do random things. I'd go to concerts. I just did everything. I'd drive intoxicated on a week, every single weekend for 20 years. And avoid any major real accidents or anything like that. But it was not healthy by no means. So in 2016, well, I met my wife. We were together for 11 years, and it was a good relationship. We argued like anybody does. I had one child with her, and it's funny because she couldn't have children. But I promise you, in the first 3 days I met her, I already had her pregnant. Don't ask me, that's a God thing, I promise you. And it was her only child, and man, she's a beautiful young lady today. And every day I was speaking with her right before I came in. Anyways, so me and my wife laying in bed one day, and we're just talking about our day, and she looks at me and she says, "Oh, by the way, I got a hernia." I said, "She works at Walmart." I was like, "Well, what'd you do to get a hernia?" She said, "I didn't do anything to get a hernia." I said, "Well, that's weird." Like that. Then probably a week went by, we didn't do anything about it. And finally, she went to the doctor, and the doctor immediately wanted a biopsy of this thing and see what was going on. I'll tell you this because that was 2015, the end of 2015. She would go in to the doctor to get a biopsy, and she would never come off the biopsy table. They went in, they did the biopsy, and it turns out that hernia was not a hernia, it was stage 4 breast cancer. And she was literally diagnosed and gone in 30 days. And of all the losses that I had, man, I had never felt like this before. And I'd like to tell you that, you know, I had quit drinking and smoking and doing all the things that I was doing before she passed away, but I'd be lying to you. But what I can tell you is that when she passed away, I no longer wanted to live on this earth. And I can tell you from where I'm standing at right here, right now, had I killed myself, I would have killed a stranger. I would have killed a stranger. So I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but have you ever found yourself where you don't want to live, but you're too scared to commit suicide?
Yep.
And what a place to operate. because I promise you, it's a dark, lonely, ugly place, exactly where somebody like the devil would love to have you. And so what I decided to do was put a syringe to my head and pull the trigger. It was the fastest way that I thought I could figure out how to be back with my wife and end this pain that I was going through. After she passed away, 30 days after that, the mother of my youngest child, product of a one-night stand, sorry God, I love him to death, and I always took care of him no matter what the circumstances were between me and his mother. And we had actually became close, never a couple. But she overdosed on heroin and died 30 days after my wife did. And then 30 days after that, my mom passed away of complications of COPD. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't grieve. You can go all the way back to Shanda. I had never grieved. You can go all the way back to my grandparents at the age in the 3rd grade. I hadn't grieved over any of these women. In addition to my wife passing away, there was I had lost girlfriends from car wrecks, rare blood diseases. One fell and broke her ankle, and a blood clot went straight to her heart. And I went to all these funerals and dealt with all this loss. And I'll tell you what, at that moment, I didn't want to keep going. I had literally came down here to New Albany. I'm going to tell you guys that I was born and raised in New Albany. It's where I grew up. It's also ground zero for me with my drug addiction. But I came up here to New Albany, and I commenced to destroy myself, literally. Like, I walked around this earth like a zombie, right? I wouldn't draw a sober breath for probably close to 7 years. And I say this because I was one of these homeless people walking around. The best I could do, you like this one, 20-inch bicycle and a pink backpack with a unicorn on it. And I thought if I carried a pink backpack with a unicorn on it, the police would leave me alone. I do believe it works quite well.
It's true.
Man, I'll tell you what, all I did from the moment I woke up was I would wake up, and first thing I would say to myself was, you woke up. Because I knew what would come next. The time I opened my eyes to the time I went to bed, all I would do was be focused on getting one more of what I wanted. And what I wanted, methamphetamines was my drug of choice, but I would do whatever you had. Because I didn't want to think, I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to I didn't want to be here. Now, I say this because I have been in and out of jail, the homelessness. I have burglarized. I have broken into people's garages. I will get in your car and take your change. I will do whatever I have to, and I don't care who I hurt, to get one more to put into my body when I'm in active addiction. And I would also not have a job for 6 or 7 years. I wouldn't have a place to live for 6 or 7 years. I wouldn't have running water. I wouldn't have electricity. I would live in a tent down on the river. And every month and a half, the cops would come and they'd throw everything away, and I'd start over again, or I'd go sleep in an abandoned garage. And this lifestyle just continued, and it was just one nightmare after another. When I use drugs, right, I am one of those people that goes into a psychosis. Some of y'all may know what a psychosis is. I think everybody, all the alphabet boys are after me, the FBI, the CIA. I think the cops are coming to get you. I think you might be a cop, you know what I'm saying? I check it out. And I see things, right? I see things that no one else sees. And this plagues me, right? Because I would say, Eddie, do you see that? And Eddie'd be like, no, I don't see that. I'm like, oh. It was really taxing. And these things that I would go through, and these feelings that I would get, and the stuff that I would see, I literally thought I was going insane. And it was okay, because I really didn't want to be alive anyways. So this pattern repeated itself and repeated itself and repeated itself. And then finally I got tired. When I say I got tired, I mean I got super tired. And this particular night in particular, I had managed to talk some guy into letting me stay in an old camper out off of Gordon Pike, down over the back of a hill, no electricity, no water. And I was out there, you know, and I'd been up for 4, 5, 6 days. I don't know how long I'd been up. And I'm telling you, the feelings going through me, the stuff I was seeing, it was so much I couldn't take anymore. And this particular night, something happened that had never happened before, right? So through all this anxiety, right, this peeking out the blinds, this wondering who's coming, thinking everybody's out to get me, in this moment of chaos, right, I did the only thing I had never done before in my life. I dropped down to my knees, and I prayed, God help me. I get cold chills. Because I tell you this, and you know what I'm saying, it's not like the heavens opened up, right, and God himself walked down and said, let me help you up, my son. That's not what happened. It's not my story. But what did happen is the overwhelming sense to get out of where I was came over me. So I packed up a backpack, and I got on my bike, and I rode over to a friend's house, spent the night there. And the next morning, right, 7 police officers kicked the doors in on the place where I was. It was a local trap house. And in that house, with every drug you could think of, every paraphernalia you could think of, just a hot mess, to be honest with you. And one person went to jail that day. This guy. Now, at first, that made me mad, right? I'm like, well, I'm only going to jail. Everybody else doing the same thing I'm doing. But I look back on it now, and I see that it was the blessing. And I also realize that you really got to watch what you pray for. You know? Hey, God loves you so much, he'll give you something, and it might not come in the form that you want it to come in, but it's help nonetheless. Because I tell you, I went to jail, and something was different this time. Something was different. I've been to jail many, many times before. Something was different. So I'm in that jail cell, and I'm bouncing around because, look, it's way better than even the way I was living on the streets. Now I got food coming in, right? I only got to fight for it. I got a place to lay my head. I got a blanket. I got to take a shower anytime I want. I got hot water and soap. They give it to me. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? And I say this because what a realization that jail's better than the way you're living on the streets. But like I said, something was different this time. I'd bounce around from cell to cell, and I'd walk to this one guy's cell, and he's like, why are you so happy? I said, I don't know. Something was different. And I would stay in there probably 4.5 months, and there was a counselor that worked there at Floyd County Jail, and he met with me a couple times, and he asked me what I wanted to do. Well, I'd heard of this halfway house out in Laconia, Indiana. It's called, it was ran by Gary Decker and Mary Decker. And I thought, well, that sounds good, man, I need that. Because let me tell you how I do time, right? If they tell me I can get out of my jail cell to go to a church service, right, I'm going. You know, caged up like an animal. So, but what I didn't know is when I was going to these church services, God was working on me. He was working on me. He was doing it in increments that were more bite-sized. You know, I believe that that's how God does it sometimes. He'll let us break ourselves down into more manageable pieces because we believe we're so much bigger than what we are. And when we're walking around believing that we're so much bigger than what we are, God can't get to us. So when we get done breaking ourselves down into those manageable pieces, that's when he'll step in and do his work. So I had talked to that counselor about going to the halfway house, and I tell you guys this, man, because literally the whole time I'm sitting in jail, and I'm indigent, right? I ain't got no, like I sell my envelopes for soups, right? Because you could send 2 letters out, but there's really nobody I could send any letters out to anyway, because I don't burn every bridge I could out on the streets. So I would trade them for noodles. But I got a court date coming, and I go up to this court date, right? And they're like, Mr. Gresham, we're going to let you out, and we're going to put you on probation. And I'm like, done this so many times. I already know what this road looks like. I get out, I fail a drug test, they lock me back up. It's a vicious cycle, goes over and over again. And but part of me was already considering, after going to all that church and wanting to change my life around and having this experience, I was already thinking about going back to the trap house as soon as I hit that selling point. So I go back to my cell, and it's so I already know I'm getting out. So you know, I got my mattress folded up, I got my little cup, my spoon. I'm sitting out there at the day table because I'm getting ready to get out. And they called Gresham, right before, I'm sorry, let me back up a little. Right before they called Gresham bed and baggage, that little counselor guy stuck his head in the door. And he said, Ray, come here for a minute. Okay, so I walk out there, I'm all excited. And he's like, hey, Gary Decker called. And we got you into that halfway house. And I was like, oh, that's great. I love that. You know, because that's the first time I've never been to rehab. They said, talk about relapse for people that kind of stop running laps. You know what I mean? So I had never stopped. But this was good news because I had got what I wanted. And I thought, well, surely I can try this. And I've heard such good things about it. And look, I tell you guys this because I'm sick. I'm sick because I go back, you know, at the day table, and I'm still thinking about the trap house because we forget our pain, right? I've been in there 4 months, went through all the stuff I went through, and yet I still got that thought in my head. So they called Gresham bed and baggage. I hit the Sally Port, right? Sally Port's where they release you if you haven't been in jail. You know what I'm saying? So look, right, Gary Decker left the trap house. So I'm like, you know, walk out there, I've got my little plastic bag that has all my belt buckle and my lighter and stuff in it, and I promise you that my body's going left towards the trap house, right? And then I look, and I'm like, all right, start walking that way, and then that counselor guy come out of this door. I didn't even know there was a door there. He goes, hey, Ray, Gary's that way. I said, oh, yeah, we go this way. And I say this because what a decision, right? I did walk over to Gary's car. I got in that car, and I went out to Laconia, Indiana. So imagine this, right? I touched down in this faith-based halfway house, and these guys are on fire for the Lord. I'm still brand new, right? I just know I got this feeling. These guys all had jobs, right? Beautiful homes, right? Here I am straight out of the tent on the river, right? Doing jail time to landing in this beautiful home. And I'm telling you what, I'm like. So they all go to work the next day. And I'm like, wow. They don't even have TV service out there. They don't. But what they do have is a whole lot of DVDs that are all about spiritual things, right? So I'm like, I want to watch some TV. You know what I'm saying? So I went over and I picked this 4-disc set up, and it's titled Spiritual Warfare. Right? So look, coming off of this madness, right? All the things that I went through, thinking I'm insane, right? I put this little DV set in, and I think I made a sandwich, and I sit down on the couch, and I start listening to this guy preach, and he's talking about all the spiritual warfare and how the devil does what he does and how he attacks us and how he is organized. Like they are organized how they will come at us. Yes. And all of a sudden, when I started applying biblical principles to what I had experienced in the madness, that's when I realized that all that stuff that I was seeing and no one else was seeing, I believe that was demons themselves. Come on. I believe that when you are up for 10 days and you're strung out on a drug, they have no idea what it does to your body. And it thins that veil between the flesh world and the spirit world. Tell it. So when you're seeing those things and no one else can see it, that's because you have a gift, right? It's a gift. And at that time, it was a gift of desperation. And all I know is when I put those thoughts into what I went through, I finally had an answer. And let's be honest here, finding God and not putting dope back in my body was the solution at that time. Jeez. So I had to seek this, and this is exactly what I've done so far. So I will tell you that in that faith-based halfway house, I knew some people, and at another house, I knew that they was doing some drugs over there, and like a bug to a light, right? I would start drawing near that house because I thought maybe there was some chance that I could do something that I wasn't quite done with in my head. And also, as I'm sitting in this faith-based program, right? I'm going to church 11 times a week. I'm studying my Bible. I'm going to Bible study. I'm reading the Word. We prayed within the house I lived in. And guys, when I tell you the Holy Ghost would show up there, and it would literally shake you to your core and drop you on the ground, that's how, let me tell you. Yeah. That's what our house was like. It really was. So, the problem was, see, the devil will lie to you. Yes. The devil has a tongue of velvet, and he knows how to approach you. He knows if he needs to be a man or a woman. He knows how, whatever it takes to get to you, you have to choose to believe and buy into the schemes of the devil. And he told me I wasn't worthy of all that. Don't you know you belong out there on that river in that tent? Don't you know that you're a drug addict and you can't have what these people have here? And I also thought I wasn't worthy because of all the tainted thoughts that were going through my head. So I ended up switching halfway houses. I don't know if it's a right or wrong thing to do, but I always say that I might have stumbled upon a recipe. And that was get right with your maker and get 12 steps in your life. Because I showed up at this other halfway house, House of New Beginnings, also it's out there in Corden, Indiana. And let me tell you, my first AA meeting I ever went in and sat down in, I had arrived. I had found my people. All that loneliness, let me tell you, because I work a solid AA program, I really do. But let me tell you this, the solid AA program that I work allows me to have a spiritual experience. And what does that look like, right? So I can tell you that I poured myself into that AA program. And what an amazing program it is. But it broke this barrier down between me and God that I had placed there in the first place. Because believe me, He didn't. He walked with me through that madness, I promise you. There was times when I know that I'm alive standing here at this place right now because of the love that He showed me. And the like a good father, you know what I mean? Like I want to play in traffic and He stops me. I want to put my finger in a light sign. He stops me because that's the kind of God that I have. That's the kind of God Jesus is because He loves us. So I would work the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it would change my life. Because what I needed to learn was about Ray. I needed to learn what it was that made me tick. Why did I want to do drugs? You know, drugs and alcohol are only mentioned in one of the 12 steps. The rest of it was a spiritual war going on inside of me where I was rejecting God. I was pushing God out of my life, and I was, fighting against it. And why? Looking back on it, AA showed me that it was out of fear, right? Yeah. That scared little boy that was sitting in that church in Salem who ran out of there. I was still that guy, only this time I'm 45 years old. I had wrecked my life being me, so selfish and self-centered to the core that I walk out on my children, that I leave them alone, that I've become this man who I hated. I hated that man. So the 12 steps would teach me how to love myself again. So when I had a spiritual awakening as a result of working the steps, right, I've been doing exactly what the rest of 12 steps says, and I carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm 3 years sober, by the way.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
And I tell you this because my program was missing something. So, I'm in the business of learning what makes me tick and how I can give away this thing that's so freely given to me. I'm sitting in those rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, man, and something's not there. And I got that God-sized hole that everybody talks about in this program.
Yep.
And I had tried shoving alcoholics in there, whole alcoholics. I had tried the big book. I had tried everything I could to fill this hole, and relationships, and never quite didn't never seem to fit. About a month ago, I started coming here, right? And Ted told me I had to come back and 3 times to get this Bible. And ever since he gave it to me, I had to put it down. I do this thing called turn and burn, right? And it's where I turn to a random page in the Bible and I read it because I truly believe it's how God speaks to us, right? And this book is the living Word. I'd like to read something to you that happened not long after I got this book. And I stumbled upon this, and one of my glasses. And what a powerful piece. It's 1 Peter chapter 4, 1 through 6. It's called Living for God. It said, "So then, since Christ suffered physical pain, you must arm yourself with the same attitude as He had, and be ready to suffer too. For if you had suffered physically for Christ, you had finished with sin." I'm finished with sin. I want to live a perfect life. I know I'll never be perfect, but if I try a little bit more today, to be better, a little bit better today than I was yesterday, then I know I'm on the right track. I know he'll build me up, support me, and he'll make that life come true for me. It says, you won't spend the rest of your lives chasing your own desires, but you will be anxious and do the will of God. Come on. If you have had enough in the past of evil things that godless people enjoy, their immorality and lust, their feasting and their drunkenness, their wild parties, and their terrible worship of false idols. Come on. I'm turning to this, and I'm trying to get right, and it's like this is the stuff that God's given me. I mean, he's talking straight to me when I read this. It says, of course, your former friends, we all got former friends, believe me. I have cleaned that slate on a lot of people that used to be in my life. I still love them, I just love them from a distance. It says, of course, your former friends are surprised when you no longer plunge into the flood of wild and destructive things that they do. So they slander you. But remember that they will have to face God, who stands ready to judge everyone, both the living and the dead. That is why the good news is preached to those who are now dead. So although they were destined to die like all people, they now live forever in they now live forever with God in the Spirit. Amen. I'm just saying, I'm on this pursuit, right? This pursuit to become closer with my Maker. I want a relationship with Jesus. Yes. That one that, like you have with your best friend. I do this, I pray every day, I read this Bible every day, and I try to seek God out in everything that I do. I happen to know that I'm one of God's favorite tools to wield around, whether I'm helping another alcoholic out, or whether I'm getting a gentleman or a woman into treatment. I know that these actions don't come from me. They don't come from me because what do? I drive a 20-inch bicycle and camp in a tent down by the river and do drugs. That's what Ray does. But this new creation that I have become, this new creation is exactly as God always had intended me to be. Come on. And the power that I get from helping another person out is unlike anything that I've ever tapped into. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I used to get high, but no drug I've ever done gets me more high than what God has done for me. Amen. I tell you that right now. Come on. I would like to also point out, guys, that there's this thing called God's waiting room. It's one of the hardest places to exist, right? Because the program Alcoholics Anonymous and coming to church and the Bible, it tells us to pray, right? And we pray. But we don't always get the things we want, right? We think it's the cosmic vending machine where God's just going to drop down, we're going to get what we want. But that's not how my understanding of God works. Let me tell you what my God does. I prayed for patience and understanding and love one time. You know what he did? He gave me Eddie. That's what he did. He won't give you the things you pray for, but he will build you up so that you can receive the very things that you want. Now, once I figured this out, now it's on, right? I mean, I see you, God. So he continues to build me up in this life that I live. I mean, I don't really have mistakes anymore. I don't have failures. I have results that didn't work out the way I wanted them to. And if I learn from everything that I do, right, and I take it to God and turn it over, then I'm not in control of the outcome anyways. Hey, that's what you call letting go. And if he so loved me enough to go to that cross and die for me, then I tell you there's nothing no man on this earth could ever say or do to me that I have to worry about. I promise you.
Amen. That's right.
It's okay. Because I don't always have the perfect words to express the love that I have inside my body for Jesus, for the things that he's done for me. When I look back at my time of homelessness and drug addiction, you know, I realized that he was right there the whole time. Yes. And I could tell you countless story after story after story. There's so many people that I was with that are no longer here today, right? They're gone. They didn't make it. And I tell you, them people did not even do half the drugs that I did. Why am I still here? And that's a bit of survivor's guilt right there. But I know this, there's such thing as a calling, right? A calling on your life. I don't know what my calling is. I don't. I know that I'm sober today, and I'm seeking Christ in everything that I do. And the results that I'm getting are, you can't measure them. You cannot measure the results that I'm getting. The prayers that have been answered, the clarity that I get in problems that used to just destroy me. Yeah. You know, I'm plagued. I'm an overthinker. I don't have to overthink no more. I can turn it over and let God handle it. You know, it's like, honestly, if you're sitting out there and you don't believe this thing, I mean, if you just seen me at 102 pounds with a size 27 waist, riding that bicycle with that unicorn backpack on, dirty face, needing a haircut, and then you see me standing up here today. I know I'm not much better looking than I was then, but I'll tell you what, man, I am happy. And I have found something, I have tapped into it, and it's available to each and every one of you. All you have to do is ask. That's the beauty of it. And then take some action. Come to church. Thursday nights is a beautiful place to be right here. I couldn't tell you how many Thursday nights I spent elsewhere, and I don't feel like I do today. So, you know, I'm glad you asked me to come up here and speak. I have no idea how this is going to come out, but I know that my life has been what it is, and it continues to get better. And I know that I'm not special. I'm not special at all. This story that I have, it's just another man's testimony. And the power that I have tapped into, it's available to each and every one of you. Come on. 100%. Yes. You just have to seek him. And he does not make hard terms of it neither. You know, a mustard seed of faith can grow into something that's beautiful. That's right. And that relationship that you have with him, it continues to grow. This continues to blossom into something that I have never in my life been able to tap into as long as I've been alive. And I don't worry a lot these days. You know, there was a time when I did. I always had to have an answer for everything, and I don't have to today. All I have to know is that I trust God, and he's going to be there for me because he's a loving Father. And I'm telling you guys, if you put a little bit of effort into this relationship with him, he will not let you down. Amen. I'm ready, guys. That's all I got. Thank you.